Somewhere there's danger. Somewhere there's injustice.
And somewhere else the tea's getting cold.
Hello YouTube and people of the interwebs, welcome back to another Doctor Who video. Today I'm going to be reviewing every single episode of Tales of the TARDIS, which is effectively our first new spin-off of this new WHONIVERSE era. For those of you who don't know, on the 1st of November, only a couple of days ago, BBC iPlayer gained this really cool new artwork and catalogue of basically every major thing in Doctor Who's history, and all the other things like An Adventure in Space and Time, and even totally Doctor Who are on their way onto this Doctor Who WHONIVERSE iPlayer thing. But to kick off the 60th celebrations and this WHONIVERSE channel, we got a bunch of mini episodes that are kind of added to classic Who episodes. We saw the return of loads of fan-favourite classic Doctors and fan-favourite companions, all of that jazz, which I'm going to review for you today. These episodes are only available in the UK at the moment, so if you don't really want spoilers, I'm kind of going to be discussing spoilers in this video, but I mean, there's not too much to spoil, they're just nice little stories. And as I mentioned earlier, the format of these episodes is 5 minutes at the start of a classic companion, or two classic companions, one Doctor, one companion, having a little chat in the memory TARDIS.
I think it's a memory. It's a remembered TARDIS.
Which is possibly going to tie into the leaks about the 60th anniversary, but we're not going to discuss that yet. But yeah, mark my words, what happens in this memory TARDIS may directly tie into the ending of episode 3 of the actual 60th anniversary, The Giggle. We get a short introduction to the episode where the companion meets their doctor or another companion. Then you just get the full serial edited together without the cliffhangers and title sequences. It's all just one massive product. And then at the end you get a little wrap-up, kind of bookend conclusion to each episode, all of which is really fun. So we'll just go through these quickly. Episode 1. Earthshock. The story itself we'll talk about in a minute. This is the strongest episode of the series. It sees the reunion of Peter Davison and Janet Fielding, playing the 5th Doctor and Tegan. I say he's playing the 5th Doctor. Who knows, maybe this is like a curator sort of thing. That was the vibe I got, like how Tom Baker appeared in Day of the Doctor, kind of like all these Doctors, maybe they're the curator from the future, or maybe they're part of sort of split regenerations or different timeline branches which are alluded to in the Sylvester McCoy short. But yeah, this episode is, it's probably my favourite. It's written by Russell T Davies, and even though Power of the Doctor did just reunite the pair via hologram, having them actually interact properly as characters was really nice to see. Earthshock as a story, I've always thought it's got some really cool ideas, some of the coolest ideas since Classic Who, like the whole, spoilers, Adric dying and that freighter being the thing that caused like the first ice age and the extinction of the dinosaurs. That is a really cool idea, especially because they start the episode looking at like dinosaur fossils and everything like that. That's really Doctor Who-y, really timey-wimey, really nice. But the start of Earthshock I've always found a little bit slow, like the first couple of episodes, it's kind of like, come on. And don't get me wrong, I love the zoom in on the Cybermen, the cliffhanger, the, oh, it's the Doctor moment. That's always nice. But yeah, in terms of the end of Tales of the TARDIS, having that transition from Adric's smashed badge onto the 5th Doctor holding the badge, that was really nice. And I loved the way they were talking about Adric. Like, that was just, yeah, it was really cool. These episodes are sort of the perfect way of like celebrating the 60th anniversary and giving the fans exactly what they want without ruining the general public's perception and making it too nostalgia-y. Because if you did just include all of these Doctors willy-nilly in a 60th episode, which is what a lot of people, including myself, have kind of been like, that would be a great idea, realistically for the general public, it wouldn't be that good. That's the fan side of the brain going, that would be great, but bringing them back to give like new life to these characters via mini episodes, that's a really cool idea. So the next one, The Mind Robber, sees Jamie and Zoe reunited. I really liked this one, not as much as the Earthshock one, but then that's probably because I'm not as connected to the Patrick Troughton era. I will admit, don't get me wrong, like I love Doctor Who, but some of the black and white episodes are really difficult to like get into because they're so long, there's so much filler, and I don't know, I just like watching colourful pictures. Which, incidentally, there's another bit of news here, but the Daleks is getting colourised, like the original William Hartnell Daleks serial, that's being colourised, and it's been edited by Benjamin Cook into a 95-minute fantastic special, which I think is airing on the BBC on the 23rd of November, so that's really exciting. I believe it also has an entirely new score, so yeah, make sure you look out for that, because colorising Classic Who, and yeah, it's a brilliant way of bringing in new generations, which is also exactly what Tales of the TARDIS does really well. When I was younger, especially, this would have been a perfect way of introducing the classic series to younger generation, especially with like the episode which I'll talk about in a minute where we've got Clyde Langer from the Sarah Jane Adventures back. Like, it's a fantastic way to get younger audiences into it. So the Mind Robber, yeah, I need to watch more Patrick Troughton. He's so good in this serial. He's brilliant. There were some really wacky ideas in there, which I really liked. I like the sort of toy guard things. Also, the robots that kind of look like Cybermen with the handles. They were pretty funky. The main takeaway from that episode was I really like the TARDIS team. I think Patrick Troughton's Doctor is insanely good, and I have loved him. Like, Tomb of the Cybermen, he's great in as well. It's a shame he's got so many missing episodes, because I feel like his Doctor's probably one of the best. I mean, even in the 2 Doctors and the 5 Doctors, both of which I've seen quite a few times, he's really good. He's one of the standouts. So yeah, Patrick Troughton and his 2 companions were fantastic, and yeah, it was a nice little bookmark, because obviously at the end of the War Games, Patrick Troughton's final story as the Doctor, apart from the ones where he came back, his regeneration episode, Jamie and Zoe lost their memories, which was, yeah, really sad, but great to see them sort of reunited in this memory TARDIS without completely undoing the memory thing. I still feel like the sadness of that ending holds in place because they've missed all those years, and it was really nice to see that like the Doctor's life had influenced them to still do all of that stuff, even if they couldn't remember it. Yeah, solid episode, solid addition to Tales of the TARDIS. Vengeance on Varos. Sadly, I'd say this is probably my least favourite one out of all of them. Yeah, it was fine. Perry and Six are not my favourite duo at all. I do love Colin Baker as the Doctor, but I don't know, Perry, no offence to the actress, she's brilliant and I'm sure she's a lovely person, but Perry as a companion has never really clicked with me. And I don't know, her American accent in that mini episode at the start and at the end, it sounded slightly off. I don't know if that's just me, but it was still really nice to see them back, and I love the more Colin Baker, the better. Like, he'd be a fantastic curator in live action. I know he's done it for the audio dramas, but yeah, Colin Baker was really cool. And the story itself is, yeah, it's a decent one. Syl is a really fun antagonist, and I did like that they were comparing, like, all the stuff in that story to the modern day. Like, that was quite nice. A little bit of politics in there. That was a solid one, not my favourite, possibly the weakest out of the bunch, but it was still really strong, and yeah, this is by no means slagging it off, because it was great. Then we get to the 3 Doctors, which is probably my favourite classic story ever. Like, those who've watched the channel for a long time, I love Omega, or Omega. I always get told off in the comments because I say it like the American way, Omega, but Omega. That's how they say it in the story. I don't know why. I feel like Omega sounds better. I can already hear the classic fans raging in the comments. As a massive fan of the Sarah Jane Adventures, like, that show was my childhood, and at certain points in my life, I loved the Sarah Jane Adventures more than I actually loved Doctor Who. Seeing Clyde Langer back, and especially with Jo Grant, who's also a fantastic classic companion, discussing my favourite classic story, that was insane. Like, that was really cool. Obviously, there's a lack of a Doctor in there, which, I don't know, the childish part of my brain, immediately it's not as cool. But them two held up really nicely. They were really good, discussing Sarah Jane as well, and having Sarah Jane's owl. That was so nice. So nostalgic as well. And Clarny being official, that's really nice. I really hope we get to see Clyde and Rani again. Like, what are the Bannerman Road gang getting up to? Also, Luke and Sanjay, I want to see where that all goes. Having Luke back in the series at some point, or in a spin-off, that would be really cool. And yeah, as I say, 3 Doctors, brilliant story. I think I might have reviewed it on the channel before, but yeah, Omega, best classic Who villain. I love him so much. The shouting, the dramatic noise when he takes his head off. I say head, when he takes his helmet off and there's nothing there. 3 Doctors, banging story, banging mini episode. I said Earthshock was probably my favourite. favourite. I might say this one overtakes it just about. I don't know. I've got 3 standouts of this series. So the next one, The Time Meddler, another one of my favourite classic Who stories. I love the meddling monk, and I love the idea of the meddling monk, which is obviously why I've brought him back in my fan series. Doctor Who Echo's Return. If you're interested, go and check, link in the bio.
And look at me now! I have achieved more than you could have ever imagined!
This was a really nice reunion of Stephen and Vicky, and one of my favourite lines in Doctor Who history is well, what do you think it is? A space helmet for a cow? And that got a little mention with the Viking helmet. It was, yeah, really fun. I thought the way they showed William Hartnell's Doctor without showing him, like you hear his laugh at the end and the zoom in on Vicky's face as she sees him come through the doors and his little chuckle, that was really, really nice. And yeah, I prefer it to like if they CGI'd him in and stuff, because I don't know, it felt like a really nice tribute to William Hartnell and the original stories themselves, especially seeing those classic companions come back. And then ending on another top tier one, it's difficult to say whether this is my favourite, The Curse of Fenric. Having Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred back, once again, we did see this a little bit in Power of the Doctor, but it's just so cool. Sylvester McCoy is just fantastic. Like, he slips back into the role perfectly. I know he's a lot older now, but he's still just the 7th Doctor bumbling around, hitting the buttons with his umbrella on top of the console. That was brilliant. And The Curse of Fenric itself is a fantastic story. When I watched it years ago, I didn't love it that much, but when I think I rewatched it, like, when I started uni, so about 2 years ago, and yeah, it was brilliant. I do really, really enjoy The Curse of Fenric as a story, and I loved that Ace and the Doctor got to sort of explore his manipulation of her. However, a slight downside, I still don't think that the 7th Doctor apologised enough for how manipulative and how evil he sort of is. Evil's a very strong word, but he's really not nice to Ace, especially in that story. And I don't know, I feel like it happened in Power of the Doctor as well. Yes, they discuss the topic, but Ace also apologises. And I don't really know as Ace has much to apologise for. But I suppose he did kind of apologise. Maybe there should have been a stronger apology on his behalf, and then that's immediately swept away by the childish part of my brain going, oh my god, they're flying the TARDIS together and he's whacking all the buttons with his umbrella. It was brilliant. I loved that one. But yeah, it's really difficult to sort of have a favourite. All of those episodes were really, really good, and I recommend if you can get access to these episodes, you go away and watch them for yourself. If you've watched them, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of them. I really, really hope we get a series 2 of Tales of the TARDIS, because it's just so good. And also, it's got to be really cheap for the BBC to make. Who knows, we could even get like a Matt Smith one, like Matt Smith and Amy and the 12th Doctor and Clara, or the 12th Doctor and Bill, or like the best one you could possibly do, Rose and Nine, like Christopher Eccleston coming back. I don't think he'd come back for it, but imagine the scenes if that happened. Or like Tennant and Martha. There's so many ones you could do. Missy and the 12th Doctor. 13 and Yaz. 13 and Yaz would be fantastic to see. It's a little bit too soon, I'd say, but a few years down the line, why not? Also, it is a huge shame we didn't get any Tom Baker stuff in here, because yeah, he's like arguably the most famous classic Doctor, but understandably, I don't think he's probably retired from acting and appearing in this sort of stuff, which is fair enough. That's my review of Tales of the TARDIS. Let me know in the comments which Tales of the TARDISes you'd hope to see in the future, and what you thought of this mini-series on BBC iPlayer. I don't know how I rambled on about this for so long when it's not that long of a series, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to like, comment, subscribe. It really does help me out a lot, and goodbye.